I thought this, man. We're in Florida. You got all that stuff going on up in the East Coast of New York. There started to be more bands coming out. And then all the California stuff. Everybody thought, oh, you can't be heavy from Florida. That's like swampland or something. So I was out to create not only Nasty Savage, but I felt that if I could bring other people to the table, not only would it let's say, hey, Nasty help these guys or those guys, which wasn't that important to me. It was more what they were going to do to help our scene, to help the movement, to help everything that had to happen to put Tampa Bay on the map because we're already getting there where it became the heavy metal capital of the world. Then it changed into the death metal capital of the world. Yeah, I was at home one day at my mom and dad's house where I lived on that Mitchell Drive where that the letters used to come to that 109 box, and and all of a sudden my mom goes, "There's two boys at the door. They want to talk to you." And I've told this story before. And I go to the door, and these two kids on bananas, I mean, on Stingray bicycles with the banana seats and the chopper handlebars. And they go, "Hey, what's up, man?" They go, "Hey, are you Nasty Ronnie?" I said, "Yeah." And they go, "Well, we're Donald and John Tardy, and we want to know how to start a band." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "Really?" I said, "You guys came to the source of someone who's a marketing fool at heavy metal and creating hype and magnification of a products." I said, "Man, you guys are brilliant." I said, "I love it." I said, "Let's go to Lithia Springs, this county park over here, and let's throw the frisbee for about 5 hours to get my Chevelle. Let's go." And we did. We came back, man. Those boys were ready to go, and that's when they started Executioner, and went on to start Obituary, and they just left yesterday on a big tour. Amon Ra and Cannibal Corpse and Obituary is doing I don't know, 2 months out across America, and so and then there was bands like there's a guy Ed Aborn, and he was in a band called Siren, and they were around in the early days too. We'd have all these bands around, and a lot of people would never want to help anybody, or that's how people are. But what I thought was great is one day Ed Aborn called me up or came to my house. He goes, "Hey Ron, how are you getting in all these magazines, man? How are you doing this?" Because it was competition. And I'm like, "Dude, I reached out, I researched, I have all these." I had like a big thing of I had a big envelope of contacts. So I said, "Ed, you want the contacts? Here you go." And I gave him my contacts. I said, because what I felt, if you really want to do it, do it. Now I just gave you the ball, run with it. Score some touchdowns, man, and do that, and you'll really gain my respect. So that's what he did. Next thing you know, I started seeing Siren and the Siren and here, so it was all that camaraderie stuff that as in a leadership role or visionary, you got to help others because sometimes karma will come back to you in a good way. But if not, it's still the right thing to do, man, because of that, things have happened that they've given me in the past. And same thing with Obituary. But at the same time, there was this one fanzine called Guillotine, and they were these two metal dudes from Orlando. And they came to one of our shows at the London Victory Club. And when they did, they brought two other guys with them. And one was named Chuck Schudler and Rick Ross, the two dudes that started Death. But they weren't in a band back then. They were just headbangers, man. And they were literally bashing their head on the stage and became instant Nasty Savage fans because of the impact, the impact that you'd feel back when we were 18, 19, full of spunk, full of funk, and just going nuts. It was an impactful show to see, I guess, because it was just pure, non-controlled mayhem, you know, and they were there. The next thing you know, they came to one of our practices and they go, "Oh yeah, we started this band, Mantis, and let's play a song." And all of a sudden they played this stuff. I'm like, "Holy shit, man, that's like a whole new kind of music, man." It's like total death, like holy shit. And here it started. But at the same time, after we recorded at Morrisound, bands like Creator, Agent Steel, Destruction, Sepultura, so many bands would come over and record at Morrisound recording studios. And it was because they loved the production that we were doing. And because of that, there was a guy named Scott Burns who was an assistant for us. Scott would just back then you'd have to change the tapes, quarter, 3/4 inch tapes, and you'd have to, switch them, put them backwards, whatever, take them off, put the new ones on, make the coffee, whatever. He was an assistant to Jim Morris and his brother. And Scott all of a sudden became an iconic. He just released a book about his history of death metal, and it really took another turn for our area to become the death metal capital of the world with Obituary, Deicide, Morbid Angel, Nocturnus, Cannibal Corpse. Man, there's so many other bands, the Siren guys, and there was so many bands. Can't even remember all of them, but there's so many of them that did and still say. Atheist is another one who would say, "Man, we were inspired by Nasty Savage," and that it really means a lot when they give you those props, and don't forget kind of some of their inspirations. And Chuck, they're wearing Nasty Savage shirts in their early days, and Obituary 20 years later put us on this video, 10,000 Ways to Die. It was an animated video of included Nasty Savage in it, and if you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. And then the zombies come in, and their video starts, but it's got over 6 or 7 million views. So because of that, it helped Nasty Savage, I think, get reached out to newer metalheads that maybe didn't even know who we were. So then they wrote a book, and there's a pretty big chapter of the inspiration of Nasty Savage. So those guys were just, I respect them so much, man, because they run it like a real business, man. And then they're very calculating. Any decision they make, man, it's so cool to see. And the work ethic of a guy like Terry Butler, who's in these other bands, and they manipulate these tours and trips. And I don't know how they keep track of the logistics of this stuff, man. But it's crazy. So while we're on the topic of Obituary, I wanted to reach out. We're at this crossroads with this new album. I'm like, what do I do to bring the past back? Well, let's record at Morris Sound Recording Studio. So we did that. I went out and found Vandekar's grandchild, the guy who painted our album covers, to work on some artwork. We got the artwork. We found some. Vandekar's been dead for years. So I got that. So then I said, you know what? I want to reach out to Obituary, my good friend Donald, and tell him I want them to be part of this album. And I said, Donald, I would want it redo from the demo, which is Sabbath. And I want you and your brother to be on it. And Donald goes, hell, I'll play the drums, bro. Man, that'd be killer. And he goes, I'll talk to John, see if I can get him. And, after talking to John back and forth, he wasn't sure how it would work. I said, John, don't worry. Whatever you want to do, you just do, and we'll make it work. So I just got the files, and that they did it right before they left, and we brought that back. So it's all coming together from the past to the future, and that's where we're at with that. So that was because of what we did in the early days and got people to actually, be inspired by Nasty Savage, I guess. But
which turned into a whole scene. The as you said, the death metal capital of the world. You planted the seeds that became this massive movement.